Hello. In this video, we're going to learn how to multiply matrices together. To begin, we're going to jump straight into an example. We have two matrices, 0, 2, -2, -5 in the first matrix, and in the second matrix is 6, -6, 3, and 0. Now, previously you've learned that adding and subtracting matrices requires you to add or subtract the corresponding spots. Well, and you may be tempted to do the same thing for multiplication. However, that is not the case. Do not multiply corresponding spots whenever you multiply matrices. Instead, we're going to multiply the row of the first matrix by the columns of the second matrix. So, our first row in matrix 1 is 0, 2. Our first column in matrix 1 is 6, 3. To multiply these, we're going to take our row and we are going to stand it up next to our first column. 0 times 6 plus 2 times 3. All of that together is going to become the entry for our first position of our matrix. Now, we also need to take the first row and multiply it by the second column. 0 times -6 plus 0 times 2. Now, if there was a third column, we would also multiply the first row by the third column because you're going to multiply each row by every single column. So, since there are no more columns, we are finished multiplying with row 1. Now we need to move to row 2. We need to multiply row 2 by column 1. -2 and -5 are going to stand up next to our column. -2 times 6 plus -5 times 3. Now, next we are going to multiply the second row by the second column. -2 times -6 and -5 times 0. From here, we're going to simplify exactly what it says. 0 times 6 is 0 and 2 times 3 is 6. So now we have 0 plus 6. 0 times -6 is 0 and 2 times 3 is 0. So we have 0 plus 0. -2 times 6 is a -12 and -5 times 3 is a -15. So instead of saying -12 plus a -15, which is accurate, we're going to write -12 minus 15. If you want to write plus a negative, you can. It's completely okay, whichever way you like. -2 times -6 is 12, plus -5 times 0 is 0. Now we need to simplify even farther. 0 plus 6 is 6, 0 plus 0 is 0. -12 minus 15 is -27, and 12 plus 0 is 12. So now we have multiplied these two matrices together. Let's talk about some actual notes regarding multiplying matrices. So we dove into an example, but this is normally what we have before an example, right? A page like this. So first we're going to multiply row by column. Now, matrices don't have to be the same size to multiply them together. And sometimes they may be the same size, but you still may not be able to do it. But we learned how to classify matrices, row by column, or the number of columns by the number of rows. So say we have two matrices, a 3 by 2 and a 2 by 4, and I ask you to multiply them together. The question is, can you? Well, to determine whether this is possible or not, we need to look at the two inside numbers, 2 and 2. So the first matrix has 2 columns, the second matrix has 2 rows. That allows us to multiply them because the number of columns and the number of rows must match. So as long as your two inside numbers match, you can multiply. Your two outside numbers tell you the size of the new matrix. So in this case, it would be a 3 by 4. Let's look at an example. If I tell you to multiply the following two matrices together, 3, 2, 5, 2, 3, 1 for matrix 1, and for matrix 2, 4, 5, -5, 5, -1, 6. Well, we know that the first matrix is a 2 by 3, and the second matrix is a 2 by 3. They're the same size. With adding and subtracting, our matrices had to be the same size, so yeah, we can do this. Hold on. Remember what we talked about. Multiplying is completely different from adding and subtracting. So we need to check our two inside numbers, 3 and 2. Do these match? No, they don't. So our answer is undefined. Because our two inside numbers do not match, because we have 3 columns in the first matrix and 2 rows in the second matrix, we cannot multiply these together. If you were to try to stand up the first row next to the first column, you would realize that 3 would multiply with 4, 2 would multiply with 5, but 5 wouldn't have anything to multiply with. So you would not be able to do this. That is why it's undefined. Let's look at another example. I give you this problem here. You have to multiply the first matrix 2, 6, negative 6, 4 times the addition of the two matrices inside the parentheses. What do I do first? Well, we're going to follow order of operations. Some students in the past have had the tendency to try to distribute 2, 6, negative 6, and 4 to the parentheses first. Don't do that. Sometimes it'll work, but sometimes it causes your answer to be doubled, quadrupled. It'll just mess your answer up. So let's make sure that we follow order of operations. And our order of operations tells us to evaluate parentheses first. So that's what we're going to do. 5 plus 1 is 6, 3 plus 2 is 5, negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4, and 2 plus 0 is 2. So now we need to multiply, just like we did last time. So 2 times 6 times 6 times 6 times negative 4. So 2 times 6 is 12. 6 times negative 4 is negative 24. Now we need to also do the second column. 2 times 5 is 10. 6 times 2 is 12. Our second row is negative 6, 4, and we need to multiply that by our first column. Negative 6 times 6 is negative 36, and 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. We also need to do the same thing to our second column. Negative 6 times 5 is negative 30, and 4 times 2 is 8. Simplifying all of this, 12 minus 24 is negative 12, 10 plus 12 is 22, negative 36 minus 16 is negative 52, and negative 30 plus 8 is negative 22. So now we have simplified the expression above. That concludes this video. Be sure to watch the two videos linked in Schoology to further your understanding of multiplying matrices.